Starting something doesn't mean you obeyed God. Launching once isn't obedience. Posting once isn't obedience. Writing the first page isn't obedience. Starting feels spiritual, but finishing is actually where obedience really lives. Today, in this video, we're going to be talking about why unfinished assignments are blocking your momentum and what God is really watching. So, let's get into this. This is a common thing that we tend to look at. A lot of people seem to think that starting is obedience. Now that's partial, yes it is. However, where we tend to fall off is actually finishing. So this is the thing, is that starting can feel spiritual, all right, because it costs very little. Now, why am I saying this? It's because starting gives you dopamine. You get that hype feeling. It gives you that feeling of, oh my goodness, I'm making progress. You feel super inspired. You feel called. You feel anointed. But the thing is that inspiration without endurance is actually just hype. It's emotional excitement, and that's not actual obedience. You see, we can get caught up in this cycle where we get this idea and we are also excited. And now this excitement leads us to start making announcements. Okay? And from this announcement, what then happens? Silence. And this is where a lot of believers live in this cycle. We start strong, we have an idea, we get excited, we start announcing it, but then what happens is literally like tumbleweed. We start off strong, but then we disappear to no longer be heard of. And then people are like, what happened to that idea? What happened to this thing you started? What happened to this? What happened to that? You see, once we can understand is that obedience is actually follow through. That's what it is. Obedience is follow through. And the more that you can get this into your brain, the better it will be for you. I want you to think about, what is my follow through rate? What is my percentage? How often do I start things? How often do I start what God has told me to start? And how often do I actually bring it to completion? Because this is where we should be. Now, the Bible talks about faith. Okay? And yes, we have faith. But that faith should lead to action. How many of us agree? Now, that action should lead to what? Consistency. I say this word because this is where a lot of us tend to fall down. And that consistency should lead to completion. All right? I want you to think about it like this. Faith. The Bible says faith cometh by hearing. The Bible also talks about that faith and action and faith and works is what should go together. It's not just faith alone that produces the result. No, it's faith and action. So if you couple faith with action, but then you keep repeating that same thing, that means you keep enduring the process, you should complete. And I want you to think about Jesus, because Jesus is a great example of something like this. Jesus didn't just start his assignment. He literally said on the cross, it is finished. He said the words tetelestai, and that means victory. Jesus had completed his mission. What exactly did Jesus complete? What he came to do. He came and he redeemed us. He purchased us and bought us for a price. Okay? And heaven celebrated when Jesus completed that. So I need you to know that finishing will cost you your comfort. Yes, it will. And that's a lot of the reason why people don't finish. Because to actually finish something, you have to go through a process. You have to go through a stretching, a refining, a building up, a tearing down. That is a process that people go through, but they don't like it, okay? Finishing will cost you your ego. You are going to have to, at times, really have to humble yourself before God, humble yourself before people who know more than you. Finishing is going to cost you time. Starting costs almost nothing. Anybody can go and start. Anybody can go and make an announcement and say, hey, I have an idea. Great. But it is sitting down consistently. Obedience is proven in repetition. The more that you repeat this, that is obedience. The more that you continue to show up when your idea is no longer exciting, when you feel drained, when you feel this thing I'm not really passionate about anymore. That is obedience, okay? So let's keep going. Another thing that we need to understand is that all of us can have the right intention. Anybody can have the right intention. But just because you have the right intention, it doesn't mean there will be completion. Because listen, I can have intention, and intention is something that always impresses people. But the thing is that when you are coming to building a God-led idea, it's completion that moves heaven. All right? So let us learn and let's move to, how do I actually complete this idea? Because starting is easy. It's now you started, how do you complete? Because this, as I said before, that's what heaven wants. You can have the absolute purest heart. You can cry during prayer. You can fast and do all of these things. But if God told you to build it, but you keep stopping, I need you to know that that's not warfare. That is just pure inconsistency. And I know this can be hard to hear, but trust me, I'm saying this to you with love. Because God isn't measuring how passionate you are about this idea, how passionate you are about this business. No, He's measuring what you steward. Okay? And in this case, what is stewardship? Stewardship is simply staying with it. In the good times, in the bad times, when it feels like nothing is moving, when it feels like nobody's buying, when it feels like you haven't gotten any views today, when it feels like you've been working and putting out the content, but you know, maybe you're not getting any sales, whatever it is, it's staying with it. That is stewardship, okay? Because there will be times that come, highs and lows, it is what it is. But stewardship is staying with it to the end. If God has given you that idea, stick with it, okay? Now, here are a few things that we need to talk about. First things first, we need to deal with mental clutter, because this is what unfinished obedience creates, okay? Number one, mental clutter. Okay, this is like, you know, when you have tabs open and you just, that's how it feels in your mind. You've got tabs that are consistently running in the background in your mind. And I want you to think about it, because the more tabs you have open, the slower your performance, not just spiritually, but mentally. It's the same thing. Every unfinished assignment that God gives you becomes, man, I should have posted that. Oh, I need to finish that course. Oh no, I didn't complete that book. I need to write a page. I didn't do it. God told me to do something and I never did it. That constant low level awareness, it drains your focus. It slowly eats at you. And this is the thing, is that how can you be fully present in this idea that you have if you have unresolved issues in your old and past ideas and past projects that you haven't completed? Okay? So I want you to remember, We got to make sure our mental clutter is clear. We got to make sure that whatever God has tasked us to do, we are obedient and we follow through and we actually finish. Now, one of the next things that I want us to talk about is spiritual stagnation. Let me put it on the board. So, let's talk about spiritual stagnation. Spiritual stagnation is obedience. One of the things we need to understand, obedience is very progressive. That means that when God reveals an instruction, he wants you to often complete that instruction before he now unveils the next instruction. When you keep starting and stopping, keep starting, you stop halfway, you're pausing the flow. And I need you to understand is that God isn't punishing you. Because a lot of us can feel like, is God punishing me? I didn't finish what he started. I'm having this. I'm experiencing warfare. No, God isn't actually punishing you. But this is the thing, is that progression requires partnership. When you are working on your faith-led idea, business idea, project, whatever it is that God is giving you, you got to partner with him. He's trying to do his part, but you have to meet him as well. So that is the way. So we can explain it like this. Number one, think about this. God gives you the instruction. Okay? And with this instruction, you either have to what? Complete the action. Fantastic. You complete it. Now, once you've done the action, is completion. And following completion is what? The next instruction. So this is where God is like, okay, now here is the next thing I'm going to give you. And that is ideally what we want. However, we tend to break this thing because we don't even get to completion. Some of us don't even get to the action. We hear the instruction and we stop there. Hearing the instruction is the first part. That's not obedience. You've heard it. Anybody can hear God speak. But the thing is, what are you going to do? How are you going to ensure that you finish so that he can give you the next instruction? And I need you to understand, God hasn't stopped speaking to you. The question is, have you honored the last word that God spoke to you? Have you honored the last instruction? Because that feeling of, oh man, I feel stuck. Oh no, I feel this. You're not going through warfare because of this. Like, it's just you have not completed the last thing he said. So please, I would encourage you, go back and complete it. Now, the next thing that can happen as a result of this unfinished obedience is number 3. And it is the following. Confidence erosion. This one is really subtle, but it's very powerful. And I need you guys to understand this because this has attacked a lot of us. Every time you don't finish something, you send a message to your nervous system. And that message is, I don't follow through. I say I'm going to do something, I never follow through. I say I'm going to start and finish, but I start and I never finish. And over time, that loop, that repetition starts to form your identity. And that's when things get serious. Because once that starts forming and becoming your identity, you just become that person that you just don't trust yourself anymore. You don't trust yourself to hear what God is saying and actually think you can finish it because you are still you've built your identity on past habits or past mistakes that have not helped you. Or you start hesitating before you start things. Or you doubt whether can I actually sustain the momentum I need to actually bring this idea to full completion. And I need you guys to understand this, that this really is a serious thing. And this is one of the places that if you're not careful, you can get stuck here. And this is one of the places that kills destiny, unfortunately. So please, 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 we need to do the following. Try as much as you can and just complete. Because when you complete something, you are signaling to yourself like, hold on, I actually finished something. And what that does, you begin to self-trust again. You begin to have that confidence again. Confidence in yourself, confidence in your ability that, hey, when I say I'm going to do something and I start something, I finish. Okay? So, and this leads to the final one. The final one is, and guys, if you are enjoying this video, I would really appreciate if you wouldn't mind liking, subscribing, commenting. This will really help our video to get pushed out to others who may really gain and benefit from this channel. Thank you so much. All right, so the last one is momentum loss. This is dangerous. For real. This is the thing. Action creates motion. And you should think of it like physics. Every time you are acting on the idea, the instruction that God is giving you, you are creating motion. And as you are repeating that action and that motion, consistency is happening. And then when you're able to sustain that consistency, it leads to what? Completion. And when you complete something, it multiplies. But when you keep stopping halfway, it kills your rhythm. It completely catapults it. Imagine pushing a heavy car. You notice that as you keep pushing, it slowly gets easier because you've pushed against the resistance, but now you're starting to get into a rhythm. That motion, it's moving, it gets easier. But every time you stop, you reset the resistance. So you find out when you start and keep stopping, it's harder to start again after you stop because you have to go against that resistance. And sometimes in your mind, you're like, oh man, it was so hard to get started the first time. I got to do this again. Oh my goodness. And this is where you hear some people say, I'm always starting over. It's not a motivation problem. The thing is that you just have a completion problem. All right. So I really just want to encourage you as we're going through this, because God doesn't give, he rarely gives you new instructions if you haven't completed the last one. So this might be where you're saying, I just feel stuck. You're not stuck. What you actually need is to go back and ask yourself, what was the last instruction God gave me? What have I not done? And I want to encourage you, before you ask God for more or ask God, look, what's the next step and the next step and the next and the next? Finish. Finish what he gave you to do in the moment. Finish what he gave you to do yesterday that's still unresolved and pending. Just finish it and let that be it. So I want you guys to ask yourself a couple of questions, okay? Number one, what did God tell you to start? And have you done it? I want you to ask yourself, where did I stop? Where did I fall off? The third thing, what is the next step? Or even the smallest step, what is the next step? And fourth, when will I finish it? I am going to say this to you because I have been so blessed to be able to work with a number of women who are passionate, women who have ideas that are just wow. But some of the things I always hear them talk about is the following. They're trying to do several things at once, and that's just not going to work. God often wants you to focus on one thing and complete it well, okay? Finish it. And when you finish something, you actually build your completion muscle. And my God, that's when you truly are dangerous. So some of you don't need a new prophecy, no. You just need to go back and finish the last instruction. And I want to say to you guys that if you are ready to build, you're ready to build with discipline, with structure, with spiritual alignment, I have a free training which I'd love to share with you. So if you click the link in our bio or have a look at the description box, or you can type the words create, and I will send you the free training that you can see, or come along to it live and ask some questions. So remember this, we don't start ideas, we finish assignments.